Get ready! Hands off! Will be the last thing you see!
Right.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Well, I rewatched Silence of the Lambs the other day, so I figured I'd do a quick little review on it. That's aged fucking very interestingly, hasn't it? So you've got a transsexual, but it's not quite a transsexual. It says so in the movie, apparently, because apparently transsexuals are passive, despite being, you know, vastly overrepresented in prison violence and sexual assault and all that sort of thing. Not just on the victim side either, by the way. But didn't that age interestingly? So you've got Buffalo Bill, the serial killer, who is allegedly, according to the movie's logic, not a true transsexual, and he is using fat women to affirm his gender and his own personal ideology of being a woman. Symbolically, that's very interesting. Using fat feminists and how would you say, body positivity, sacrificing them and keeping them in a well, keeping them down in order for him to be a real woman by him making a woman suit. Isn't that interesting in terms of symbolism? I don't think it was intended that way, but it's funny how you can, you know, come back to a movie and the symbolism is still there, kind of. But yeah, Silence of the Lambs is a true classic. The psychological horror. The OG, I would say. I guess you've got all these other weird black and white ones, like M and what else? Man Eats Dog, and all these other ones that are like black and white. Not quite police procedural, but they deal with like the psychology of a killer or the psychology of someone who's going insane. Like even like the Roman Polanski ones, like Repulsion, and just like dealing with like evil in a close psychological way, like the whole psychological horror genre. But no movie really did it like Silence of the Lambs, with its weird, creepy close-ups and haunting like scores, and yeah, it's just a very unique movie, and obviously based on a book, and very extremely well done. Obviously you have the two villains in it. You've got Hannibal Lecter, who's a cannibal, but he appears to have some sort of weird principles about him. Like, he will seemingly only kill rude people. Well, at least according to some movie logic. but eventually he ends up killing, you know, 2 policemen and escaping. So, clearly not just eating rude people, but abides by some sort of principles. Like, it's mentioned in the book that the police don't quite respect him. Like, they're not, like, mean to him or anything, but they treat him almost as if he's like a lunatic rather than like a human. And they like have like little jokes with him and that sort of thing. So like, I guess it sort of fits his code, but necessity, right? He needed to escape, so he ends up killing 2 otherwise good, like, correction officer policemen, right, that are holding him. But yeah, and then on the other hand, you've got the absolutely fucking out of his mind skin suit transsexual Buffalo Bill. How has that movie not been fucking cancelled these days? Like, you've got people and popular culture being criticised and cancelled, but the OG psychological horror that has a serial killer transsexual in it, which probably hurt. It probably did to transsexuals what Jaws did to sharks. Like, logically speaking. And it's still there. Hasn't been cancelled. Hasn't even quietly been discontinued. But it's still there, which is fucking insane. Like, the Buffalo Bill dance, where he tucks his dick and he's wearing like a scalped woman's hair and he's dancing in front of the mirror to that song. That alone probably like was the destruction for all, you know, transgender ideology. Like, after that hit popular culture and this movie became like, I think it's within the top 25 on IMDb, like best movies of all time, because it's like a OG psychological horror police procedural sort of thing. The moment that happened, I think all trans ideology pretty much died, right? Just in terms of art. Like, it's getting pushed now as if it's, you know, legitimate by Marxists who, you know, obviously they don't mind their internal contradictions and all that sort of shit, even though they're absolute, you know, garbage people, create garbage policy. Every single, you know, atheist, Marxist, communist, socialist state has failed and killed millions of people. They all suck. The only ones that have been effective, the only states that have really been effective are the states that have had constitutions that afford their people rights that can't be infringed upon by government. Every time a state sort of gets a bit wonky and gets a bit Marxist and gets a bit dictatory and gets a bit power hungry around those rights, the states tend to dissolve pretty fucking quickly. That's why, you know, COVID was bad with the mandatory jabs and all that sort of shit. There was like an unspoken rule of consent when it come to medicine. People love to conflate informed consent with the, you know, right to abortion, but, you know, they're different issues. Apples and oranges. But anyway, back to Silence of the Lambs. But, like, another reason why Silence of the Lambs is so reflective on, I'll just say, the Machiavellian evil part of this gender ideology. And, like, it's just one of the sections of the movies that really struck me, and it really really made me think, okay, that's exactly what's fucking going on here, was when Buffalo Bill has the lady in the well, and the lady sees the fingernails in the walls, and she starts absolutely flipping the fuck out. And Buffalo Bill mocks her and pulls his shirt out as if he's got tits, and is going, ugh! I thought, okay, that's the current left. That's the current left to a fucking T when it comes to, like, all this sort of shit, right? Like, that's the left mocking detransitioners after they've gone down, you know, the trans path of transition. That's exactly what the fucking left is. Like, that evil, sort of sadistic, just mocking of vulnerability. And I thought, okay, that's fucking one-to-one with what's happening these days. The movie's sort of aged quite well. Of course, the left are overrepresented in, you know, all the bad, you know, dark tetrad traits and everything like that. Even simple charity, like the right wing, the Christian right wing, are, you know, the biggest givers to charity and all that sort of thing. Atheists don't tend to do it. Atheist states always tend to fail. It always blows me out how atheists believe you can cut Christianity out of a culture and a government and a society and still somehow believe you can have secular Christian values somehow. Like, it fucking never works that way. It's like nonsense. Like, no wonder all the socialist states failed. No wonder one of them, you know, formed North Korea, another one formed Communist China, and the other one, you know, became the Soviet Union. You know, put, what, up to 55 million people into gulags to be worked as slave labor. Like, yeah, no shit, you destroyed Christianity in the culture, like, deliberately. Well, like, of course you're not going to have all men equal before God, you know, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, all that sort of thing. How are you expecting to retain Christian values in a state where you've destroyed Christianity? But, yeah. And then, of course, you've got the one-to-one comparison, the one-to-one metaphor of Buffalo Bill literally using their skin as a skin suit. Like, literally appropriating the identity of women to wear it for himself, and only cosmetically and shallowly. Like, literally, it is skin deep, because, like, that they go to great pains in the movie to say he's not a true transsexual, he just thinks he is. It's sort of like a autogynephilic thing for him. And it's just all fucking absolutely horrible. Because, like, there's a lot of, you know, sexuality associated with murder. They get, like, a thrill out of it. Buffalo Bill gets, like, an autogynephilic, like, his murder thrills, like, mixed in with, like, autogynephilia. That's why he needs to create the skin suit. It's like this horrible fucking absolutely brutal psychological horror movie, and it's just, like, managed to, you know, become like a one-to-one metaphor with the current Western Marxist left, which, like, I don't know how they grew out of the free West. It's pretty fucking insane to me. I guess that's, you know, part to blame on Christianity's tolerance. I don't know, but, like, it's pretty fucking wild. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if the last part of the metaphor of the story comes true. We'll have to wait and see if women finally manage to, you know, see through Buffalo Bill, catch him and kill him. And, like, that would mean metaphorically, not literally kill, but, you know, take out the current lunatic, you know, trans ideology of the left. It will ultimately be women that, you know, start to reject this whole idea, because it is essentially under them and under feminism that it has been able to rise to power. Like, that queer theory, the whole lot of it, LGBTQ, it's all been sort of lumped in with feminism. Like, you do have trans exclusionary feminists, but the whole Marxist feminist, you know, counterculture thing, which, you know, gets its legs and popularity in universities, like, it will be women that ultimately reject it. Ultimately, it's women now that are supporting it, but it will be women that put the final nail in its coffin eventually. And look, you already do have some, you know, trans exclusionary feminists, you know, picking it right apart and being quite brutal towards it. Like J.K. Rowling is one, and like everyone on the left loved her books. I guess because, you know, there's something secret hidden about you that is super special and magical, like appealed to the trans left. They viewed it as like an appropriate metaphor for, you know, being trans. The real world not being real, being sort of illusory. And in addition to J.K. Rowling, you've got other commentators like Kelly J. Keane, who just points out, like, quite openly and quite plainly that, hey, look, a lot of these trans people that want to go into bathrooms, it's not about their mental health and about their gender. A lot of it isn't a sexual autogynephilic thrill. And if you're on the right wing, and you hold, you know, sanctity for, you know, sex, marriage, monogamy, monogamous relationships, family, that whole thing, the idea that you would appease someone who's trans so they can get an autogynephilic sexual thrill that you are not consenting to, that society is not consenting to, and like you're doing it without even, you know, trying to obtain consent from the people, right? There's something that the right will inherently fucking just hate about that, yeah? It's kind of gross. It's very gross and kind of rapey in a way. That you would use the very structures of, well, the very assumed structures of sexuality and gender and all that sort of thing, and deliberately try to break them down in order to gain for yourself sexual thrill because you're autogynephilic. Like, there's nothing noble about that. That's fucking very gross, and it fits right in with the left's, you know, other assumptions of, you know, who was it? It was Sanger and Foucault that argued pedophilia is more like a taste preference than like a disorder, that there's something wrong with those people. And this autogynephilic thrill of males that haven't even taken hormones, haven't even, you know, gone down the psychiatric, hormonal, or even, you know, surgery pathways towards being transgender, dressing up as women and going into women's bathrooms for a sexual thrill. Like, that's pretty fucking unacceptable in society. And, like, quite frankly, if you're putting like a, you know, 210 pound 6'2", 6'3" dude into a situation where they're sexually excited in a woman's bathroom, and they're between the exit to the women's bathroom and another woman, like, you're fucking loading a gun there, right? You're loading a pretty fucking dangerous gun there. And obviously this isn't all trans people, it's just the autogynephilic ones, but the issue is, how do you weed the autogynephilic ones out of the legitimate ones, right? Like, that's even sort of assuming there's legitimate ones, and it's not just all obviously a giant mental illness. Like, we call schizophrenic people mentally ill because they're hearing voices. We call people who cut their arms and legs off mentally ill. We call people who scratch at their arms in a paranoid manner until they draw blood mentally ill. Why we wouldn't call people who are mutilating their own genitalia and stuff in a cosmetic manner, merely to try and fit some sort of identity mentally ill, is, like, beyond me. I don't get it. It doesn't seem consistent, and the fact that it's inconsistent has always been one of the criticisms of, you know, the Marxist left, right? They do not care about internal contradictions and consistency at all. That's why they hold a ton of the views that they hold. That's why a ton of them, especially these days, lose arguments to the right. They're inconsistent. It doesn't matter if you call them out on their shit. Their whole philosophy is based on power. They embrace internal inconsistency in their ideology. So at a certain point, we're just going to have to sort of exclude them from, you know, political decision making, because their political decision making is absolutely fucking horrible. I mean, look what the radical left Labour have done in England, like with that I forget his name, the grandfather that they put in jail for, you know, criticising police about the Southport riots, and it wound up that the Southport attacker was actually reading radical Islamic materials. So all the rioters were, I wouldn't say justified, but they were correct in their assumptions, right? At least it seems that they were correct in their assumptions about the attack that killed 3 little girls was inspired by Islam. Like, and the left put him in prison, and he ended up hanging himself in prison. Possibly from abuse from, you know, Islamic gangs in the prison. The whole thing's fucking wacky. Like, that's exactly why the left shouldn't be in charge of decision making. That's exactly why you need a solid constitution with clearly stated rights in the constitution that can't be voided by the first, you know, left-wing government that gets in there and decides, okay, no, we're going to take away the First Amendment. You no longer have the right to say whatever you want to online. We're going to censor speech. We're going to regulate speech. Like, okay, no, clear breach of the First Amendment. Absolutely fucking unacceptable. And yet the left, you know, still push for it. It's fucking wacky. But yeah, give Silence of the Lambs a rewatch, and let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about all the metaphor in the movie and how it's aged. How Buffalo Bill may or may not be using lonely fat women in order to legitimize his gender dysphoria and autogynephilia. Tell me what you guys think.
Hey! To the left!